Committee for Thursday, July 28, 2011 will now come to order. Roll call, Madam Secretary.
Yes, sir. Mr. Enterpont?
Here.
President Frank?
Here.
Mr. Clement?
Here.
Mr. Collins?
Here.
Mr. Farnham?
Here.
Mrs. Griffin?
She's here, Kathy.
Okay. Mr. Guidry?
Here.
Mr. Landry? Dr. Mackey is out of town. Mr. McMillan?
Here.
Mr. Scott?
Here.
Mr. Spell?
Here.
Mr. Sias?
Present.
Mrs. Trimmy?
She's here.
She's here somewhere, yeah. And Chairman Stelly.
Here. Thank you. We'd ask that all the guests silence your cell phones or pagers. Thank you. Item number 3 is presentation by Mr. Roland D'Artes, Executive Director of the Police Jury Association of Louisiana, of the 2011 PGAL Scholarship Award to Ms. Jennifer C. Broke. Mr. D'Artes.
Hey, good evening, everyone. Last time I was with you guys, I was up here begging for votes on that constitutional amendment, and it passed. Just letting you, I'm sure you guys know 59 of 64 parishes, and if we ever hit that trigger, Calcasieu Parish gets another $2.5 million. So let's hope it gets there. But we're here tonight to give away money, which doesn't happen too much in this state lately. We want to call up Ms. Brogue, Jennifer Brogue. Years ago, the Police Jury Association, through its executive board, and I want to thank Francis and Sandy, back in December, when we passed our budget, they allocated $500 for the University of McNeese to give a scholarship to a deserving student who's studying in the field of public service. And Jennifer is a senior, about to graduate in governmental and paralegal studies, and she said she's going to one day want to be like me and be a lawyer. So, so we got this $500 check for her, but she was hoping there'd be another zero, but this is all I got. But I want Francis and Sandy, if they wouldn't mind presenting it to her, because these are the guys that make sure that everything was in the budget so Jennifer can have this day.
Thank you very much.
We're so proud of you.
Thank you. I really appreciate it.
Awesome.
Congratulations.
Thank
How about saying a few words?
Yeah, why don't you say something, then we'll take our picture.
Lawyers,
Okay.
Well, you
lawyers
wanna
are
be a
never
lawyer?
short.
Right.
Lawyers are never short.
I guess I can go ahead and announce my official candidacy for next year's presidential election. No, I'll limit that. Thank you all very, very much. I really appreciate this from the bottom of my heart. Thank you for what you do, also for being civil servants, workers. I know it's not a job many people thank you for, and you get a lot of flack in the press, and I really appreciate that. Thank you for representing us. Anyway, thank you.
Thank you, Roland. Item number 4 is a presentation by Mr. Lee Mallett with reference to the Academy of Training Skills facility located in Lacassine, Louisiana. Lee, if you'd state your name and address for the record, please.
Lee Mallett, 511 East Frontage Road, Iowa, Louisiana. I have a packet for each one of y'all, which includes a brochure and a virtual tour of the facility. I appreciate y'all letting me come here and talk to y'all. 3 years ago, we started the Academy of Training Skills in Lacassine, and it serves the state of Louisiana. It's the only judicial referral center in the state. We take nonviolent offenders, and we train them, we find them jobs, and we try to bring them back into society. We've been operating now for 3 years. We're nationally accredited, and we're actually a certified DOC facility. We have a lot of judges sending young men from this parish already there, and our recidivism rate as of now is 22%. The national average is around 80, the state's around 65. Inside the brochure, one of the things that I wanted to tell you about the Academy, and I'd answer any questions you have about the Academy because it has been operating a while, but the new project that we're working on is the National Trained Workforce Center, which will be a regional center. I've already met with the sheriff here in Calcasieu. The sheriff presently has quite a few people housed there, as you well know. The DOC prisoners, he receives money from the state, probably $22, $23 per day. At the regional center, the National Training Center that we would build, we would be able to take those men, the nonviolent men, out of there, bring them to our facility. The parish would keep 85%, and we would take over everything else on those guys. We would train them just like we do at the academy. We would find a job for them and counsel them and do the whole 9 yards. The new deal that we've added that nobody has done is and when I talked to Tony, he was very interested in this, was your parish prisoners are costing you $3 a day. You could take those prisoners and send them to the National Trained Workforce. It would save you $3 a day. You would empty the bed, and they would revenue share $3 per day back to the parish for every man you sent to the facility, which would be a net $6 per day to the parish, whichever parish sent it. The facility would start out with 200 beds. We would probably run the whole 7th district into that facility. But at the same time, it would become a revenue sharing deal, which would create income for the parish. It would empty up the bed for the violent and the sexual offender. And we would take those young men, just like we do at the academy. We would train them. We would find them a job. We would counsel them. And I think we could turn their lives around, besides saving the parish or the taxpayer money and also creating income that probably, I mean, what y'all would do with the $3 per day that y'all would get, that's up to y'all. I think Tony would like to receive it, to use it in the sheriff's office, but that would be a decision for y'all. I met with the Jeff Davis Parish Police Bureau last week. They're on board. They like the idea. We're presently looking at building one in the Acadiana area. We have a sheriff on board ready to go on that one, and that's the one we'll probably start first and then move to this area next. So I wanted to give y'all an idea where we were going and see if y'all like the idea. The brochure explains it. There's a CD in there that gives you a virtual tour of the academy. The academy does not have any fences. It does not have anything like that. The national workforce would have a barrier fence around it. We hope to build it at the same location where the academy is, because we have 20 acres there already. And so I just wanted to come and tell you all about it and get some input if y'all have any, and if you had any questions, I'd be glad to answer them.
Does anyone have, Mr. Sines?
Thank you. Yes, Mr. Mallett, how long have your academy been in existence?
3 years.
3 years? And the people that are there now, how do they get directed over there? How do they get?
Well, they can be sent there by the judges. The district attorney can send them directly there. DSS we have deadbeat dads over there. I was with the DS secretary 2 days ago. I think they ought to be sending deadbeat dads there instead of to jail. You have a lot of deadbeat dads sitting in your jail, which are costing you money, and they're not making any money for anybody that way.
Yes, and that's what I'm leading to. Is the judges, have this been presented to the judges?
No, the judges are participating. I have to compliment the judges in Calcasieu Parish. They are sending. We have quite a few empty beds. They could send more. I think the district attorney could utilize the program probably a little better. If you have a young man who's nonviolent, and we only take nonviolent, for instance, let's say that meets the district attorney, instead of him getting a felony record, or if it's his second offense, instead of putting him into the court system, he could actually let that individual come to the academy for 6 months or a year, and if he does well, then he could take his charges and he could lower them, or he could dismiss them if he completed it. And it would unbog the court system, and it would keep him out of jail, which costs us money. There's a lot of ways that I think that the district attorneys could be utilizing the program. The judges are. The judges, actually, because the academy is a Department of Corrections certified facility, they're actually sentenced there, or can be sentenced there. They get credit for good time if the judge so see fit. I mean, it's that type of facility. But, and y'all are welcome to always come and visit us. There's no fences at the academy. These young men choose to come. There's no guns. There's no handcuffs. There's none of that. It's more like being in the Army. I mean, when a young man arrives at the academy, we cut all his hair off, we put him in uniform, and from that day forward, it's yes sir, no sir till he leaves. He's counseled. We have AA classes. We have anger management classes at night. After he works, he comes in. He has anger management classes at night, 1 night a week. He has Bible study classes on Wednesday nights. We have a full-time counselor on duty. They get individual counseling. Then we also do group counseling. Now, we do all this at no cost to the state. We receive no state or federal money. We're the only one in the United States that does that.
Because I heard something about your academy probably about a year ago, and I was kind of interested in it myself. Do the workers, do they work and have X amount of dollars that they get at the end? Do they,
Well, if you open the brochure, the most critical thing to the academy, or the biggest change that's occurred to the academy after being in it for 3 years, is the training. When I first started the academy, finding jobs, you could, but they were low-paying jobs. And anything they make above the charges that DOC allows us to charge, which is a maximum of $62.50 a day, or down to $43, anything they make above that goes into a private account for them, and we hold that money for them for when they get out. But what's changed is the training, and we have almost 40 courses that we started and we train in-house right there at the academy. That's enabled us to find them better jobs, and that's the key. We have over 500 jobs right now. If I had 500 men, they'd all be working in North Dakota today. I have jobs in North Louisiana. Even in this economy, it's not hard to find jobs for skilled or trained individuals. And the advantage to the employer when he hires somebody from the academy, one, he's going to be free of drugs because we drug test him every week. Two, he's going to be there because we take him to work, so he's dependable. And it's yes sir, no sir. He's clean cut, he's clean dressed. The employers like that. And what happens to those young men, and those men, they're between the ages of 18 and 26, the majority. And look, the common denominator is most of them have not had a father. They've had nobody there to mentor them. They're very, very, very low self-esteem of themselves, and you got to pick them up, and you got to work on them. And the biggest thing that changes them is when they get a job and they make money. It changes those young men. They change. We can counsel them, and counseling's great, but a man who doesn't know how to make a living and feed his family, he's going down. I don't care how much counseling you give him. You got to give him some way to make a living, and that is what I've learned. And like I said, I'm a general contractor. I got involved in this 3 years ago, and it's a great thing to help and change lives and save lives. I'm sure a lot of people ask me, why do you do this? Why did you start this? Let me tell you, when I was a kid, my father got in trouble. I saw it firsthand, and when you see it, it changes you, and it always bothers you. You're always looking for something better. I didn't think I would see it as a father, and I did. My son got involved with drugs, and I saw that. So I saw both sides of it, and I said, there's got to be a better way, and that's why I built it. When I built it with my own money. Everybody didn't think we could do it because the state spends $25,000 per person incarcerating. We're doing it for about half of that, at no cost to the taxpayer.
Right. And I like it. One of the two things that attracted me to it when I did hear about it was, one of them was that with them working and having some kind of money, and they spend 6 months, whatever it is, when they get out, they have some change to get housing or to get themselves going. And the second piece is, like you say, the training. Training. I'm a strong, for the opponent, for persons in support of training people to be prepared to go to work, to be productive citizens. So I like what you're doing, and I just want to let you know that.
I appreciate that.
Mr. Guidry.
Thank you. First of all, let me just say, Mr. Mello, we appreciate you coming out today and making us aware of this program, because I'm a little bit familiar with it, because I think there were a couple young men that I know that actually have gone through your program and are now productive citizens here with jobs and doing well. My question, I guess, Mr. Mallard, was that you had mentioned talking about saving the parish. I think it's a $3 charge per day per person that's actually put into that. Now, as the parish, we normally would pay $3 per person
To the sheriff.
to the sheriffs. So what are you saying, and if I'm understanding it right, is that would be no cost to us, and the sheriff would still get his $3 per person? Could you just kind of explain that a little bit more to me, Mr. Mallard, to us, so we can understand that?
Right now, every parish prisoner that's in the parish jail, they have to be fed and taken care of. And
Right.
you all subsidize the sheriff, I think, $3 per day. That's what he told me. So you wouldn't have to pay the $3. The bed's empty. The guy goes to the national workforce, and then we're going to revenue share $3 back to y'all. Now, what you do with the $3 is up to you, but yeah, it's a net $6. And at the same time, he's going to get, the young man's going to get the training. He's going to get everything that we do at the academy.
Right.
But yeah, from the standpoint of dollars and cents.
Right. So-
The taxpayer,
Um,
the $3 you got,
I think that's great, and I think that makes sense to a lot of us that's up here listening to what you're saying. But foremost, what impresses me is that you're only going to take non-violent offenders. Am I correct in saying that?
Yeah,
Okay.
yeah, we can't, I don't want to tackle those violent offenders and sexual offenders. I think that's what penitentiaries are built for. I don't think, look, 65% of the people incarcerated in this state are nonviolent. We incarcerate 42,000 people in this state. If we was to take that 65% and put them in academies, we would save the state $500 million a year. That's not counting all the children and all the wives and girlfriends we're taking care of
Right.
while we incarcerate them. The number is staggering. In the country, there was a USA article. We spend $60 billion incarcerating people in this country. 60% are nonviolent. The answer is not to look, they still lose their freedom at the academy. They can't
Right.
go nowhere. They're transported back to work. They still lose their freedom. But they're in a different setting. They're not, you take a young man and you throw him in a penitentiary setting, I think you stand a great chance of making him worse. And it's very costly to us as a society.
Yeah. I think all of us really am really pleased with this program, Mr. Mallett. And foremost, if a kid sometimes just makes that one mistake, we know there's people out there that can give these kids a second chance, and I think that's what this program does. And I just want to say for the record, I fully support what you're doing, and anything we can do as a governing body and as a jury, I think we'll go out of our way to help you in that endeavor.
I appreciate that. And as we get closer, I guess I'll be back.
Does anyone else have any questions or comments? Mr. Brame?
Mr. Mallett, you may have said this, but I may have missed it. How is the program funded?
The resident.
Through what?
The resident works and pays his own way.
Okay, where do they work?
Everywhere. I got guys in North Dakota. I got guys in Bossier City. We're training mostly environmental courses right now. We got guys all over the Gulf Coast. We got guys working locally at Century Step. They're all over the place. They're everywhere. Wherever we can get a job, whatever their skill level is. But our objective is to try to get them a high-paying job as we can.
So,
Yeah, go ahead.
do you place them?
Yes. I find them a job. I take them to and from work, and they pay their own way. That's how it's funded. If they were free, they'd have to pay. I don't know who come up with the idea they shouldn't pay while they're in trouble. I think that the fact they pay, I think, makes them not want to come back. It's not free. If you get in trouble, not only are we going to take your freedom away, we're going to make you pay. And right now there's a law that was passed. We have several DWIs that come in. Third offense DWIs have to do 1 year in the penitentiary, 1 year in a judicial referral center. We're the only judicial referral center in the state. Fourth offense is 2 years. The one thing you see about those guys, and those guys usually have pretty good jobs, while they're there, they get very upset at the fees. They said, this is going to cost me $12,000 a year. I said, yeah, it wasn't worth that drink and drive, was it? And I don't think they'll come back because it's just too expensive. When they start figuring the dollars, and I think that's what happens to these young men, they're working out there making $400, $500 a week. $350 of it is going to go to take care of them. They pay the rent. They're going to pay to get fed. They're going to pay for us, our staff. They're paying everything. So I think it's a deterrent to want to come back because they're having to pay. Whereas if you put them in jail, they're not paying. We all pay. And it's very expensive. And they don't learn anything. We don't train them in jail. We don't really do a whole lot with them. They come out, and you in Louisiana, 65% get back in trouble. You call DOC. That's the number. That means everybody that we're incarcerating today, 65 are going to get right back in trouble. And so it's just a revolving door. So if we don't create programs like this and facilities like this at no cost to the taxpayer, I think we're going backwards. We've tried the other way for 100 years. It doesn't work. The nonviolent. Now, I'm not interested in trying to work with violent people. I think violent people and sexual people, that's a whole other story. I can't.
So when they work out of state, you transport them to?
Well, when they work out, for instance, the guys working in North Dakota, the company flew them up there. We're in contact with the employer every day. We send one of our people up there every week to drug test them and check on them. Look, the employer's not going to keep him if he starts acting silly. He'll be calling me. Come get him. He won't work or he won't do this or that. He's the best probation officer you got. In Calcasieu Parish, or this district, every probation officer is monitoring 211 people. Did you know that? Now, you tell me how one person keeps up with 211 people. It's impossible. And then you count they're not working weekends and they're not working holidays. They're doing the best job they can, but they're overloaded. They're overloaded too. So, and we work closely with probation and parole. We have a lot of DOC is going to start sending some probation and probationers to us, and instead of sending them to jail, because when a probationer is violated and goes into your jail, y'all pay for him too. He is not paid by the state until he's revocated, and he can sit there for 90 days and cost this parish money until he's revocated. And I think that person's better served to come to the academy at no cost to the taxpayer.
When he gets paid, does his Social Security and FICA taxes come out? Or?
Yes, sir. Now, as a taxpayer, that's another thing. Most of them, when they get their first check, they want to know who FICA is. Who's taking my money? I'm serious. We got to take them, get them Social Security cards. They're living underground.
Get a W-2 at the end of the year?
Oh yeah, they get oh yeah. Well, the employers are required to. Part of the requirement we find them a job is the employer has to have workman's comp, and has to pay him as an employee. It works and it's good for them. They become
Thanks, sir.
productive.
Thank you, Mr. Brame. Mr. Scott?
Mr. Mel, on the 200 beds you have in Lacassine, how many of them stay full at any given time? What's
Well,
the average?
You know, I have 200 beds. I've had 200 beds for 3 years. Half of them stay empty. Now, something's wrong with that story. When it don't cost the taxpayer a nickel, and we can take anybody from the state. In fact, and there's some stuff going on. There's going to be some changes because we're working on that. But that has been one of the, which I thought would have been the easiest part when I started it, was filling the beds. If you're right, there's always 100 beds empty. It shouldn't be like that. That place should stay packed to the point that we're probably going to try to start letting Texas bring some people because Louisiana, that's what I say. Look, this parish probably has 4,500 pending felony cases. Now, there's surely got to be 200 boys or 200 men out of 4,500 that we could give a chance to. You need to ask John about that. Like I said, in Mike Cassidy, that's a smaller parish. They send people. We receive people from about 7 or 8 parishes. Probably the most proficient parish that sends is Allen Parish. They really like the program. They really push the program. They do here in Calcasieu. The judges do a good job here in Calcasieu Parish. They really, and it's getting better. And you have to understand, we're now nationally accredited. In Louisiana, only 2 parish jails are accredited. Did you know that? Your jail's not even accredited. We are a nationally accredited, AC accredited facility. We're a DOC certified facility. You can't say that about your parish jails in the state of Louisiana. Only 2 are accredited.
What's your average time frame these guys are staying?
Minimum, they stay 6 months, and they have some there for 2 or 3 years.
All right. Well, I do like the fact of, opening up a bed at our jail. I would much rather get rid of some people, open up some beds, and not build another jail pod on, I'm sure the taxpayers would like that. As far as asking Mr. John, that ain't my job. But, I think you're doing a good job. I think you're asking the right questions, going the right way with it. I would like to know, how many parishes have you visited? Because if you got 100 out of just these 5 to 7 parishes, how many parishes have you went and spoke to like you're doing to
You're the
us?
second parish. I get, you're the second parish. I've gone and talked to a lot of district attorneys, and I go to the District Attorney Association meetings yearly. But it finally dawned on me that I need to come talk to the Polish jurymen because basically, as a group, y'all control the funds and the finances of the parish. So last week I was at Jeff Davis. This week I'm at Calcasieu, and I plan on visiting all 64 parishes and talk to all the Polish jurymen. I plan on going to the LMA the first of next month. I was at the sheriff. Education. I didn't realize, I thought more people knew what we did, and I realized a lot of people don't know what we do and what the academy really is all about. You think that some of these articles, I assumed that people knew what we did. They don't. So now I have to go on a mission of trying to educate people. This is what we do. This is what we're trying to do. And hopefully, coming to bodies such as you, what it's going to enable y'all to do is say there's a facility that we can utilize in helping us save money, save lives, and it's a good thing. I mean,
I got
everybody's been touched by.
2 more quick things. You plan on eventually taking women?
Well, that would have to be a different facility. That question's been asked before. You know, the problem there, it's not that I don't want to, the problem there, to make it self-sufficient, it's easier with the man because, okay, you have to understand that without subsidization, I have to create job or find jobs and training. I don't know, and I haven't figured it out, and it's not that I'm not working on it. I have to figure out how I'm going to create jobs for women so they can bring in the income. If I'm going to build it, if I'm going to do the same concept I'm doing here. The concept here is to receive no funds. And the reason we don't want no funds, if there's ever any budget cuts, your program's over with. So it's much better to take programs such as this and become self-sufficient, because in this day and time, with budget cuts the way we saw, like this past year, I think they cut $30 or $40 million out of the DOC budget. So the problem with a women's facility, one, it'd have to be built differently. Women are a little different to handle. Already researched that. I just haven't figured out what training I would do to get the right kind of job for them to sustain the facility.
All right.
If I could figure that out, I'd build one tomorrow morning.
All right. Thank you. Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Thank you. Does anyone else have any comments or questions? Mr. Fornum.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Sounds like a real good program. I'm curious, you talk about these gentlemen being in North Dakota working. How are they incarcerated in North Dakota?
They're not
after
incarcerated.
hours.
They're not incarcerated.
How is their freedom taken away from them after hours?
Well, they can't leave. They're where they're at. They're in a work camp. They got to stay in the camp because
Stay in a work camp,
Yes.
so they don't go back and forth to, say, an apartment or
No.
something like that. And do you guys receive any kind of compensation for placement of these guys,
none,
other than the money that they're required to pay for their stay?
not $1.
Thank you. Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Thank you. Mrs. Griffin.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Mr. Mallett, I think this is a good program. My dear friend, the late Judge Al Gray, he was very, very concerned about the high rate of incarceration and hoping that we would get programs to train some of our citizens from this parish. And I do hope that eventually it will grow, whereas you get more of our citizens that is in need of this, because our history has proven that prison doesn't work. And we have so many human beings being incarcerated that just needs a second chance. And I think this is a good thing. I wish you well. And as you were speaking, I was trying to think about ways in which we can help you. I'm totally in support of this, and I wish you well. And hopefully, perhaps you could spend time with our director who works with our juveniles, Dane. Perhaps you could spend time with him and could share some ideas with him, because he's real good at working in this area. So again, thank you for taking your time to come here, and I wish you all of the success. What is your success rating with your?
Our recidivism rate is 22%.
That's good.
Yeah, and that was that, and we've got the new numbers going to come out at the end of the year, and we hit that recidivism rate without all the new courses and the training. It's training, it's training, it's training. When you train a man to feed himself, it's a changed man.
That's right. I don't believe in a free meal. And I think that human beings are most productive when they can work and make a living for themselves. That's what, America's all about. Some just need a chance, a helping hand. So I wish you well with this, and before you leave, would you stop and Dana speak with you a few minutes? I would appreciate that.
Okay.
Thank you, Mr. Chair.
Does anyone else have any questions or comments? I have a question for Brian. Brian?
Yes.
Could you explain, if you will, the revenue that Mr. Mallett is talking about? Where would that money actually go?
Which money are you?
The money that, the difference, the $3, I think, per day that Mr. Mallett is talking about.
We are obligated to pay that $350 a day on the prisoners for the number of prisoners in the jail, which I think 660. So that if you divert 100, unfortunately, there's so many that they're going to fill it right back up. Just so from a practical standpoint, it doesn't mean it's not good to divert. It just means we're still obligated to pay that for all. There's more than 660 prisoners, and there will continue to be, at least in the short run. Maybe one day it won't. there's any savings from that, we still have to keep paying it. So from a just daily budget, it's not going to save us money in the immediate future, but over the long run, any diversion, just like Ms. Griffin pointed out with juvenile, it's success stories because of the people. And I don't want to comment on this program. I'm not familiar with it. I'm just saying it's a good thing to divert. It's really up to the sheriff, the DA, and we still provide the building, but we're not really experts in figuring out whether this particular person should go here or there. Now we have a key stake, but the long answer to your question, or short answer, should have been we got to pay the $350 anyway.
But the fact is, the saving of these people, if you will, getting them jobs and training them, and not incarcerating them in jail, as opposed to giving them training and leading them in the right direction, I guess, is where the real savings comes in. Is that right?
Yeah, that's for y'all to judge. I don't want to get away from that.
He mentioned also contributing $3 toward, so not just deferring the cost, but he was also going to contribute $3 as well. And so that would be, that'd be additional revenue.
Yeah, but it's more than that. I'm just trying to answer the question what we're obligated to.
Well, I know what we're obligated to do, but the question I'm asking is the revenue that Mr. Mallett is talking about, by not having this person incarcerated and working at the program instead, there's bound to be some sort of savings somewhere for taxpayers. Is that right? Correct, Jerry?
Well, he's going to reduce the expense by those people we have to feed, and if he gives us another $3, and also we pay the medical care.
Right.
But what he's really bringing to sounds really good is the change the way we do things, because we always incarcerate and they go back to jail. So if we can change that cycle somehow, someday down the road, because like Brian was saying, there's always need for more jail space. So whoever leaves would be, the jail space would be occupied by additional prisoners. But if we could change the cycle, maybe someday we wouldn't have as number of people we have in prison.
Right. Mr. Guidry.
Yeah, Brian brought up a good point, and I guess this could probably pertain to Dane also. Is there any way that we could possibly get some numbers to the actual nonviolent offenders that we actually have in our jail system that are there right now, that possibly we could maybe get in touch with Mr. Mallett and see if we could give those kids a chance to maybe, start a little bit more of a productive life and maybe get a job, and it might change the future of a lot of these kids. I would hate to see some kids in that jail because of something that we could have fixed early on, rather than have them kids go through the system and then become bitter, angry, and become worse than what they were before they went in. So I guess what I'm asking is that, can we find a way to get with Mr. Mallett and see for the kids that are nonviolent offenders if we could possibly get some of those kids to him? Because this program, I would hate to see this program not be a success when we're helping our young people that we want to put back into society.
If to address a little bit what he's talking about, if you have 650 budget, and if 200 leave, or if the 200 don't leave, what are you doing with the ones right now if all your spaces are filled? What you have here is if you get 200 out, you've got 200 more beds. You'll at least get 200 more off the street. I mean,
I'm not against the concept of that. We're still going to have that cost. I'm just answering the question.
But that's 200 more people off the street, no matter how you work, plus that the revenue that comes in would subsidize if it goes to the sheriff.
Yes, if there was additional revenue, yes. And I would say that any of the evaluations of that should be done, and I think are being done. Dane did talk briefly with the sheriff's office, with the law enforcement, the DA's office, and sort of how we do things here. You get all the stakeholders involved and say, how can we make a dent in this? So we all have a stake in it. And there's just a whole lot of different ways, and this is one way.
Hang on, Dane, just a second. Mr. Clement.
Well, I think where Dane's going to go is juveniles and adults are two different issues. I doubt Mr. Mallett can send juveniles in Sitco or wherever that needs to go to work. So I think some of that might be a problem.
The juvenile would be a problem because he can't work.
Right. The other thing, is there an existing program, and I may be wrong on this, at Chenault, that there's some work, some
Okay,
probationary work?
That is a halfway house. They receive state money for everybody they put in there, and those are all DOC prisoners, every last one of them.
Okay.
They don't get any training, to my knowledge, and there's no counseling. They do help them find a job, but that is what you call a halfway house. And that they come directly from the penitentiary. We're trying to catch them before they get that
So it's
far.
not the same people that you're dealing with?
And we receive no state money. You see, they're receiving close to $20-something a day from the state. Plus, they take 65% of their pay.
Okay, all right.
There's a big difference in the two facilities.
All right, thank you.
Ms. Griffin, thank you.
Thank you. In reference, I asked my colleague Fardane, because with his experience that he goes through dealing with our juvenile justice, a lot of them turn adults while they're in there and have to be released. That is an ongoing problem. But I think the key here is not only to save taxpayers' money, because we have to take care of them, period, but also to put them in a position whereas they will not be in a revolving door where they will constantly be a burden to us financially. And also, the more education and the more productive workers we have, that is a plus for the parish. That's more money that we could save. And I wanted Dane to speak with him because he travels all over the United States finding information about at-risk human beings. And I know some of those kids as a teenager in the system, when they get an adult, the problems don't go away. It stays there, and it manifests. So that is what I wanted. Now I said that I want to address Brian.
Yes, ma'am.
You are correct in reference to the key stockholders getting together and discuss all of that. Perhaps a good thing will be to see if something could be set up so that all of the players that is affected and have something to do with the lives of these individuals who has broken the law, the land that we have set forth. These people, the judges and the DA and the sheriff and city, all these individuals, maybe we can set up a roundtable discussion and see what we could do to help them. Because they really do try hard. I mean, I see police cars rolling all during the day, and every time you get to a stoplight, there's 2 or 3 in the car. We have problems. So if we could train these people, then that would be good for us. And that's what I want to see happen. We need more programs like this. So I thank you. I still would like for Dane to converse with him. Thank you, sir.
Mr. Boland, can you come up? State your name and position.
Dane Boland, I'm the, I guess in this matter, I'm the Director of the Office of Juvenile Justice Services. I just want to comment on the percentage. Juvenile and adults are different, but Mr. Mallett is correct. If you go around the country and juvenile or adult, between 60 and 70% of the people that are incarcerated are for nonviolent offenses. So, but I can get those numbers for you, and I'll get them on the juvenile side and the adult side in the parish.
Thank you, Dane.
Thank you.
Does anyone else have any comments or questions? Mr. Sias.
Yes, I do. Thank you, sir. The first one is, like I said, I agree with Ms. Griffin. That's why I asked you at the very beginning, had you got with the key players on that, and that's we definitely need to do that. But my other one is Brian. I'm trying to understand it. You say 660, is that 660 beds or 660 prisoners?
Well, it's the capacity of the correctional center.
It's 660.
Yeah, and there's more. There's the sheriff's prison, which carries over, has more than that.
I'm talking about the one that we pay for, 660.
Yes, right.
So if 100 of them go away, we still paying for 660, or are we paying for 500?
Well, if there wasn't anybody to take their place, no, we wouldn't. I'm just
okay. So that means that we have to believe when we decide on a system like this, we have to believe that if we are removing 100, that it's not necessarily 100 going to take their place, because we're thinking that if we are finding a better path for those 100, then we may not have 600 replacement.
That would be
somewhere along the
that would
line,
be
you have
ideal.
to have a
I
path
agree.
forward to where you're looking at something that's not replacing it. As if we did it any other way, then we can keep the system we got right now. we can go with the system we got right now. But if we going forward with the intent of believing that we coming up with a productive system, then we're not saying that when we pull 100 out, 100 more gonna go back in there. So, thank you, sir.
Thank you, Mr. Side. Thank you, Lee. Good luck. And I too support what you do out there. Lee has recently done some work for me, and there were some of those guys out there, and I can assure you, when they were there, they worked. And the yes, sir, and no, sir, you're absolutely right about that. So I want to thank you for that.
All right, and look, if y'all ever want to come visit the facility, y'all more than welcome. We'd love to have y'all visit the place.
Thank you.
Thank you
Very much. Appreciate it. Item number 5, consideration of making a recommendation. A recommendation with reference to adopting a resolution approving a cooperative endeavor agreement between the police jury and the city of Sulphur, approving funding in the amount of $16,600 for the drainage improvements at the intersection of Evelyn Street and East End Avenue. I have a motion by Mr. Forum and a second by Mr. Spell. Is there any discussion? Any objection? Hearing none, item 5 carries. Item 6.
Move on 6.
Consideration of making a recommendation with reference to adopting a resolution authorizing the president of the police jury to execute the necessary document for acquisition of right-of-way on Park Road in Ward 1. I have a motion by Mr. Spell and a second by Mr. Scott. Is there any discussion? Any objection? Hearing none, item 6 carried. Item 7, consideration of making a recommendation with reference to adopting a resolution authorizing the president of the police jury to execute the necessary documentation for the expropriation of right-of-way on Carbina Road in Ward 3.
So move.
Second.
I have a motion by Mrs. Trimmy and a second by Mr. McMillan. Is there any objection? Any discussion first? Any objection? Hearing none, item 7 carried. Item 8, consideration of making a recommendation with reference to accepting Calcasieu Parish Project number 2011-02 as substantially complete. I have a motion by Mrs. Trimmy and a second by Mr. Sias. Is there any discussion? Any objection? Hearing none, item 8 carried. Are there any other matters for consideration?
Move to adjourn.
I have a motion to adjourn.
I now call to order the July, what's the date? July 28th, July 28th, 2011 Agenda Committee. I now entertain a motion to pull items 23 through 33.
So moved. Second.
I have a motion and a second. Item number 23. Item 23, take appropriate action to fill a vacancy on the Board of Commissioners of Community Center and Playground District Number 2 of Ward 4, created by the resignation of Mr. Dave Aguilard.
Mr. Chairman, I would submit the name of Mr. Johnny Stanley.
I have a motion to appoint Mr. Johnny Stanley by Mr. Angelpon, a second by Mr. Farnham. Any discussion? Any objection? Motion passes. Number 24, take appropriate action on a vacancy created by the resignation of Mr. Ronnie Johns as a member of the Human Services District for the Region 5 area of the Louisiana Department of Health and Hospitals.
Mr. Chairman.
Yes, ma'am.
Would you give me a minute, please, to get
yes,
to
ma'am.
24, please?
Right after 20.
I think we need to defer that. Is that correct, Mr. Jason?
Yes, ma'am. I think he had to step out, but I had talked to Jason. We were asking that it could be
Okay.
deferred.
What we need to do is defer that because we're waiting on a name.
30 days?
Yes, sir. You think 30 days would be it? 30 days.
I have a motion to defer for 30 days by Ms. Griffin and a second by Mr. Spell. Any discussion? Any objection? Motion to defer passes. Number 25, take appropriate action on the expiration of the term of Mr. Jimmy Petrie as a member of the Burton Coliseum Advisory Council.
Move on 25.
Second.
Correspondence was received from the Calcasieu Parish School Board nominating Mr. Bill Jongblood. I have a motion by Mr. Brame to appoint, and a second by Mr. Landry. Any discussion? Any objection? Motion passes. Number 26, take appropriate action on the expiration of the term of
Move to-
Mr. Mark
Second.
LeBlanc as a member of the Burton Coliseum Advisory Council.
Move to accept,
To
reappoint, I'm sorry.
I have a motion to reappoint by Mr. Sias and a second by Mr. Stelly. Do I have any discussion? Any objection? Motion passes. Number 27,
Move to reappoint Mr.
take
Mark
appropriate
Peterson.
action on the expiration of the term of Mr. Mark Peterson as a member of the Burton Coliseum Advisory Council. I have a motion to reappoint by Mr. Stelly, a second by Mr. Sias. Do I have any discussion? Any objection? Motion passes. Number 28, take appropriate action on the expiration of the term of Mr. Brad West as a member of the Workforce Investment Board. Correspondence was received from the Jeff Davis Business Alliance recommending that Ms.
Move to
Michelle
appoint.
A.
Second.
Bear be appointed. I have a motion to appoint by Ms. Griffin, a second by Mr. Guidry. Any discussion? Any objection? Motion passes. Number 29, take appropriate action on the expiration of the term of Mr. Larry Mutaw as a member of the Board of Commissioners of Waterworks District Number 9 of Ward 4.
Move to reappoint.
Second.
I have a motion to reappoint by Mr. Clement, a second by Mr. Farnham. Any discussion? Any objection? Motion passes. Number 30, take appropriate
Move on number
action on
30
the
to
expiration
reappoint
of the
Clinton
term of
Leger.
Mr. Clinton Leger
Second.
as a member of the Board of Commissioners of Gravity Drainage Number 7 of Ward 8. A motion to reappoint has been made by Mr. Stelly, a second by Mrs. Griffin. Any discussion? Any objection? Motion passes. Number 31,
Move to reappoint Melvin Rougeau.
take appropriate action on the expiration of the term of Mr. Melvin Rougeau as a member of the Board of Commissioners, Gravity Drainage District Number 7 of Ward 8. I have a motion to reappoint by Mr. Stelly, a second by Mr. McMillan. Do I have any discussion? Any objection? Motion passes. Take appropriate action on number 32 on the expiration of the term of Miss Nancy Falk as a
reappoint.
member of the Board of Commissioners of Ward 4 Fire Protection District Number 4. Mr. McMillan's made a motion to reappoint, and a second by Ms. Trimmy. Any discussion? Any objection? Motion passes. Number 33, take appropriate action on the expiration of the term of Mr. Glenn King as a member of the Board of Commissioners of Ward 4 Fire Protection District Number 4.
Move to reappoint.
Second.
Motion to reappoint by Ms. Trimmy. I'm going to give that second to Mr. Gidry. Mr. Gidry, have that second.
Before we vote, would you go to Mr. Anderpont, please?
Mr. Angelpont, before we vote, I'm going to you. Mr. Angelpont.
I want the floor, but not on this issue.
So we're good on this?
I'm good. I need to talk to him about something else
10-4.
before we adjourn.
You good, Ms. Trimmy?
I'm good.
We're back to where we were. Ms. Trimmy's made that motion. We're going to move on with it. Second by Mr. Guidry. Motion passes.
Thank you, sir.
Any other business before I let Mr. Angelpont have the floor?
I got business. That's part of it, you know.
I wanted you to have the last word, though.
Sandy, this involves you and I. If you remember sometime back, we had appropriated $600 each for the backpack program or something in DeQuincy. Anyway, it fell through the cracks some kind of way. And it's not any fault of anybody, but we did discuss it, and I thought we had approved that, and Jessica can't find where we did so.
Well, I think excuse me, may I speak? We're just kind of talking back and forth because he's asking and I'm going to answer.
Enjoy yourselves.
Yeah, well, I mean, I think
Best thing
the money's, she needs it like around in December is what
Well, she
had
called for
said.
it.
Okay, that's why we didn't put it on in any big hurry.
Okay.
I don't think it fell through the crack. I don't think it ever got on. So when we do have a budget meeting,
Well,
now, we,
she's wanting the money, according to Jessica. She called me, and I told her to get hold of Jessica, and she called me back and said, I can't find where it was approved. I know we discussed it, but I'm trying to find out.
we both agreed, but
Yeah.
I don't think it ever got on a budget committee. Excuse
We
me.
can check in.
I hate to be talking
Okay, we-
over y'all, but
The point I'm trying to make is I appreciate it, the lady needs the money. Am I correct? Okay, when are we gonna have another
Well,
budget
can we,
committee meeting?
is there any way we can do, put it
Well-
on this agenda so that it can be vetted, that we can, that Francis can explain this? we can at least put it, all we're voting on tonight is to put it on the agenda, right? Can we do that? Because this is an agenda meeting.
Well, it's got to go through the budget committee.
Yeah.
Yeah, but we might could have, if we go ahead and put it on there, we
Hey,
could have a budget committee Thursday.
Brian, can you just
we-
can you clarify right quick? So
We believe there's time if we do it on the 18th of August. And plus, we got to clarify we do this with all of these nonprofits and so forth, make sure it passes muster with all those rules the state has. And that's for the company's benefit, or the organization's benefit as well.
Do y'all have a number? Okay.
All right. Well,
We can make I don't think it's too late if we do it on the 18th. I wouldn't want to add it tonight, just.
No, I'm not asking that we add it tonight. I'm just asking that we put it on
Our next
whatever,
budget.
whatever channels we have to take to get to where we're going. That's all I'm saying, is it?
any other
Yes.
discussion on the questions?
Legal counsel.
Mr. Chairman, you all know there are strictures on what you can do with your money.
Sure.
Under the state constitution, Article 7, Section 14. So I'd like you all to give me some information, please, on how you will vet that the people who are receiving are actually those who would qualify under the statute, so we can give it approval.
Would you do one thing for me?
Yes, sir.
Would you find out if there's such thing as a Francis Andrew-Punt Benevolent Fund, so we can...
If he is, I'd like to sign up.
I yield the floor, Mr. Chairman.
I will entertain a motion to adjourn. I have a motion by Mr. Spell, a second by Mr. Guidry. Motion
I think they
adjourned.
gave us